This is a very sad week. It marks the closure of one of the most unique game studios ever created. Telltale Games, as of September 21st of 2018, had begun a major studio closure, firing 250 people and leaving a mere 25 employees staying on to fulfill the company's obligations. It is a great shame. Many highly anticipated games like the second season of The Wolf Among Us and the new Stranger Things game are all cancelled, with reports saying that the final season of The Walking Dead is also cancelled, despite its second episode still scheduled for release. Although there is still hope. But how is this even possible? How does such a reputable and popular game dev just close down? Today, I'll be taking a look and try to figure out what went wrong for a point-and-click giant, Telltale Games. The studio was formed in March of 24, founded by former LucasArts employees Kevin Brunner, Dan Connors and Troy Molander. Their first more relevant game came in 2006 with Sam and Max Save the World. From that point on, they were on the map and released some very well received games, like Back to the Future and Poker Night at the Inventory. But it wasn't until the release of their crown jewel, The Walking Dead, that they became known by a huge amount of people. The Walking Dead, while being their magnum opus with many Game of the Year awards, might also have been the beginning of the end for them, because from that point on, every following Telltale title had to follow the same formula that The Walking Dead presented. Telltale went from being a small indie studio that makes this specific genre of games, to a seemingly big studio that employed over 400 people. This meant they could make more games, but it also meant that the quality of said games stagnated a bit. But the number of 400 employees seems like a lot, no matter how you put it. To put that number in perspective, and to show how absurd it is to have so many employees at such a small studio, I'll show some other developers you've probably heard of and show how many employees they employ. For example, the strategy giant Paradox employs only 200 to 225 people. Bigger developers like Codemasters and Valve both have around 400 employees, and comparing Telltale with their direct competitor Dontnod Entertainment, which employs only 166 people, really shows how much they went overboard. Of course, at the time of the studio's announced closure, they employed only 275 people. But it's still worth noting that they employed much more not that long ago. Upper management was also keen on making every future title follow the same formula as The Walking Dead, straying away from any possible innovation and experimentation. To quote the Word's article from earlier this year, according to about a half a dozen sources familiar with Telltale, however, the problem for most employees wasn't new ideas, but the lack of them. The Walking Dead had broken new ground for Telltale, both artistically and financially. Unfortunately, it also chained those running the company to an immovable idea, that the template of The Walking Dead was the only one worth pursuing. While there were many other titles that were very well received by both the critics and the public, they started creating too many games for their own good. From 2013 to 2017, they released 10 different episodic titles. While 2 games per year may not seem like a lot, for a studio that creates this very specific genre of games, it's plenty. By showing down so many games at the same time, they managed to tire people of their formula, and their stubbornness to innovate didn't help them either. The team began focusing on creating as many licensing titles as possible in an attempt to cash in on as many popular franchises as possible. It seems that didn't do them any good, because even with those titles getting some critical acclaim, they didn't make a profit out of them according to claims. A Polygon journalist Joe Parlock claims that none of their games after The Walking Dead other than Minecraft Story Mode made a profit, according to his source. While we can't take that statement as proof, it is a conversation piece. We have to ask ourselves, how is it possible a game like The Wolf Among Us, whose license shouldn't have been too expensive, packed together with the fact that the game sold pretty well, selling between 500,000 and a million copies on Steam alone, according to Steam Spy? I mean, if you don't manage to turn any profit from that, you're doing something very wrong. I do believe that Batman was a huge commercial and financial flop though. It didn't do as well in sales, and that hurts if we regard Batman's popularity. I also believe the claims that even Tales from the Borderlands, which was met with huge critical acclaim, didn't make much, since those claims range back a few years. I do wonder how it's possible that's the truth, since the game sold very well, reaching approximately the same numbers as Wolf. We can only speculate at this point, but it does seem there are many management issues in the company. The Words article published in March of this year talks about Telltale's toxic management, saying that it cost the company its best developers. It also talks about the company shifting its focus from quality to getting as many episodes done as possible. To quote the article, to keep up the workload, the company started rotating developers in and out of different games during the development process, sometimes in ways that employees said made little sense. As the developer schedule grew more aggressive, management sought to remedy tighter turnouts by adding more people to the department, a solution that did little to help the problem. As one former Telltale developer put it, 9 women can't make a baby in 1 month. Focus on quality really started to shift to let's just get as many episodes out as we can, the source says. And now, after the company's demise, former employees have started to call the company out for unpaid severance and long hours. In conclusion, Telltale just bit off more than it could chew. They were too ambitious and were focusing on the wrong things, which led to its unfortunate closure. We can only feel sadness knowing that we have been arrived at the conclusion of their Walking Dead franchise potentially, together with the second season of The Wolf Among Us and probably many other great stories. I wish they just stayed a small studio with a focus on quality or quantity, but in the end we can only enjoy the games they already made, and hope somebody's gonna pick up where they left off. Hopefully with better vision and management.